the Airborne TOW missile teams of 1972. In the spring of 1972, North Vietnam launched the Easter Offensive, a massive conventional invasion supported by infantry divisions, heavy artillery, and hundreds of armored vehicles. South Vietnamese defensive positions that had been designed for guerrilla warfare were suddenly confronted by T-54 and PT-76 tanks advancing across open ground, through mountain passes, and toward major cities. At Tan Can and Dak Tu in the Central Highlands, North Vietnamese armor helped break South Vietnamese defenses. As the offensive moved toward Kontum, American commanders urgently searched for a weapon capable of stopping the tanks before they reached the city. One possible answer was still experimental. The TOW, short for tube-launched, optically tracked, wire-guided, was a new American anti-tank missile designed to destroy armored vehicles from long range. After launch, thin wires connected the missile to its guidance system, allowing the gunner to keep the sight centered on the target while the weapon corrected its course. The missile had been tested from the ground, but the Army was also developing the XM-26 system, which mounted tow launchers and special optical equipment aboard UH-1B Huey helicopters. When the Easter Offensive created an emergency, the experimental aircraft were rushed into combat. The first combat aerial TOW team deployed from Fort Lewis, Washington, and arrived in South Vietnam in late April 1972. The equipment had been sent overseas only days after the deployment order, even though the airborne system was still undergoing development. The team received little time to adjust. On May 2nd, the missile entered combat near Kontum. Flying above the battlefield, the Huey crew located enemy vehicles and prepared to fire. The gunner placed the optical sight on a tank and launched. The missile streaked away from the helicopter, trailing its guidance wires as it crossed the distance to the target. It struck. That shot became the first time American soldiers fired an American-made guided missile in combat. During the day's fighting, the team was credited with destroying 4 tanks, a truck, and a 105mm howitzer. The new weapon offered several important advantages. A conventional helicopter gunship often had to approach closely enough to fire rockets or cannon rounds accurately. The TOW allowed crews to attack from farther away, beyond the effective range of many enemy weapons. But the system demanded patience and precision. After launching, the gunner had to keep the sight fixed on the moving target until impact. Sudden movement by the helicopter could break the guidance process. Smoke, trees, rain, darkness, or poor visibility could prevent the crew from identifying a target. The missile's guidance wire also imposed a strict range limit. If fired too far, the wire could run out before the missile reached its target. Despite those limitations, the airborne tow teams continued hunting armor around Kontum. On May 9th, 3 PT-76 tanks were destroyed at ranges of approximately 2,000 to 3,000 meters. The first missile struck with such force that secondary explosions followed inside the vehicles. When North Vietnamese tanks and infantry attacked Kontum in mid-May, the TOW-equipped Hueys were called into the battle. The crew searched roads, fields, defensive positions, and the edges of the city for enemy armor. They worked alongside Cobra gunships, tactical aircraft, artillery, and forward air controllers. Their targets were not limited to tanks. The teams attacked armored personnel carriers, trucks, artillery pieces, rocket launchers, machine gun positions, ammunition dumps, bunkers, bridges, and other point targets that threatened South Vietnamese troops. On one nighttime mission, the crew struggled to locate T-54 tanks firing into Kontum. Flares were used to illuminate the battlefield, but acquiring a clear target through the sight remained extremely difficult. The attempt demonstrated that the system could be deadly in daylight but was still limited under poor nighttime conditions. As the fighting continued, the crews adapted. They learned how to coordinate with other helicopters, remain outside concentrated air defenses, select firing positions, and guide missiles while hovering or moving slowly over the battlefield. By mid-June, the original team had recorded 47 confirmed target kills, including 24 tanks. Its success led General Creighton Abrams to order the formation of a second airborne tow team using replacement crews trained in South Vietnam. Across their deployment from April 1972 into January 1973, the two Huey gunships fired 162 missiles in combat. Of the reliable missiles, 124 struck their targets. The recorded targets included 27 tanks, 21 trucks, 5 armored personnel carriers, artillery pieces, anti-aircraft weapons, rocket launchers, bunkers, and ammunition sites. The system did not win the Battle of Kontum by itself. South Vietnamese troops held the ground. American advisors helped coordinate the defense, and B-52 bombers, tactical aircraft, artillery, and gunships delivered overwhelming firepower. But the airborne tow teams introduced something new to the battlefield, a helicopter that could identify an armored vehicle from a distance and destroy it with a single precisely guided missile. What began as an emergency deployment of experimental equipment became a glimpse of future warfare. The experience helped secure funding for later tow systems mounted on attack helicopters and proved that helicopters could serve not only as transports and gunships, but as long-range tank hunters. During the Easter Offensive of 1972, as North Vietnamese armor threatened to break South Vietnam's defenses, a small group of pilots, gunners, technicians, and experimental Hueys carried an unproven missile into battle. They arrived as a test team. They left having changed anti-tank warfare from the air. If you have any photos, videos, or stories to share, please send us a message. And to all veterans, thank you for your service.